We got a peek behind the curtain over this past weekend to Tokyo Game Show when it comes to some old heads in the industry, some legendary names behind the scene as to Western influence and how it's corrupting and perverting the Eastern gaming front. A bit of a boo, but also a bit of a boom, if you will. Because when push comes to shove, all of this moralizing, woke grandstanding, yeah, it's not flying with any of these developers, okay? They're mocking it as much as we are. And honestly, because it affects their art directly, they might even hate it more than we do. Take a look at this. Former Shonen Jump editor-in-chief reveals Japanese media being censored due to American content standards. Japan is also badly influenced by that. Yeah, it used to be the other way around. Japan would be a lot more open and arguably degenerate. I mean, you know, the panty vending machines kind of speak for themselves. But the way that they would overly censor or change games through the late 80s, all the way through, all the way through until the 2000s, really. Like you remember, Super Mario Brothers 2 was not the same version the Japanese audience got that the Americans got, okay? As an avid Final Fantasy fan, there were many changes and art direction shifts due to a more politically correct climate over in the States, as opposed to the more uncensored version in Japan. But now they're just deciding to make these changes for everyone? Yeah, I don't think so. And they're not even really that necessary because, okay, you take a look at what they're changing. It's like, why? Makes no sense at all. And especially making these alterations, making these unnecessary changes to the late great Akira Toriyama's work, you know, that's heresy of the highest accord. According to former Shonen Jump editor-in-chief Kazuhiko Torishima, the Japanese video game, manga, and anime industry's recent turns towards censorship are not the result of creators' own voluntary actions, but rather they're being forced to comply with America's own puritanical content standards. Yeah, it's amazing because what side of the political aisle is pushing this stuff? The same ones that want to go ahead and have mentally disturbed men in bras and panties, you know, shake their chemically disturbed bodies in front of your children. But then they also want to cover up and alter the female form and the male form as well. Any sort of beautiful form or form that has been worked on through hard work and perseverance, it's really hard to shake the description that they hate physical beauty and are threatened by it, because everywhere you look, there's no alterations to 300-pound land whales, okay? They're not making Alloy's face softer and more feminine. They're making it look softer, that's for sure. Who they're doing this for, I don't know when they're going to realize that audience never buys your product. Legitimately. Too broke to even afford their own hormone treatments. Torishima, who served as the late Akira Toriyama's editor through the entirety of Dr. Slump in the first half of Dragon Ball before being promoted to the head of Shueisha's premier manga magazine from 96 to 2001. Oh, so he was there at the point in time where, yeah, the Shonen Jump was absolutely killing it. Provided this insight in the ongoing East vs. West standards battle while giving an interview to Japanese video game outlet Den Fami Nico Game magazine alongside Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii. Yeah, per transcript to the conversation, relevant excerpts provided by fellow Japanese video game news source Games Talk, machines translated by, Google Translate amidst a general conversation regarding their respective careers. The two esteemed creators were asked, by their host, Naz Chris, herself dressed as the hero, from Dragon Quest III, about the decision to cover up female version of the game's warrior and Gadabout classes, as well as the male monster wrangler in its upcoming HD-2D remake. And yes, you can watch the clip right here, but obviously you'd have to turn on subtitles, unless of course you're fluent in Japanese. But we also have a clip with the relevant parts here, which I'll go ahead and link in the description. But, you know, just to give you an overarching glance at this, Japanese game developers are frustrated with the forced, ridiculous, UN-driven globalist agenda. Okay, compliance they have included in their game under the name of compliance. It's like an absolute god, an evil disguised as good. There's no such thing as content that doesn't make everyone uncomfortable, because beauty and ugliness, good and evil, are different for everyone. There's this religious concept from the West, especially in America, that influences their approach to sex education. I mean, it's really tough to say that wokeness isn't a religion at this point. Their approach to compliance is very narrow-minded. Doing business with such a ridiculous country is really frustrating. Because of that, Japan gets negatively influenced. In Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between male and female main character, but now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. You have to label them as Type 1 and Type 2. I really wonder, who is even complaining about this? Good question! Who is complaining about this? All right, people that were never going to play Dragon Quest, people who don't know what Dragon Quest is to begin with. And this is a common thread in games and other media content in Baldur's Gate 3. For instance, there is no gender, there are only body types 1 and 2. Censorship like this is a slope that doesn't stop. There's an agenda that will erode all meaning from life, where there is no man nor woman, yes, no sense of self, and ultimately there will be no identity left to latch onto. Of course, yes, live in the pod, eat the bugs, blah, 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 all of that crap, but no. You can go ahead and be defeatist about that, or realize that, yeah, the people making this stuff don't actually want to make it. They're just stuck listening to executives that kind of have their head up their ass right now, thinking that, oh yeah, no, this is what the public wants, right? But then when they finally look at their bottom line, they go, oh, this isn't what they want. They'll make the pivot. That's why talking about this stuff and bringing it to light is exceptionally important, because right now the narrative is that people want these covered up designs. They want type 1 and type 2 bodies. They don't want male and female. That's very hurtful, because people can identify as anything that they want. But in actuality, no, that's not what people want. You're going to be able to see that in bright lights and on the big stage towards the end of October, right at the end of the month, with the release of Dragon Age of Veilguard, and the fact that that's going to do absolutely no sales. There are quite a few flops left in the quiver of 2024, and it's disasters like that and influential designers like this speaking out against this nonsense that will do more to tear this stuff down, more than any of the freaks pushing this stuff can do to prop it up. At the outset of their discussion, Chris turned to the group, out to the topic, the observation that the costumes were a big topic of discussion, to which Horii explained, well, there are a lot of restrictions, like you can't be too revealing, pressed in turn by his host. I mean, it's fiction, but isn't it fine for you, the protagonist, to go on an adventure, isn't it? Is that wrong? It's a game. It's non-fiction in the virtual experience of fiction, so I think it should be fun, Horii admitted. I don't know. I really don't know, though. If you reveal too much, the target age group will increase, or maybe it won't be suitable for all ages. Exactly, right? Because, hey, man, if the warrior didn't have a top, well, it wouldn't have an E for everyone rating, okay? And plus, unless you go to, some deviant art sections, you're not going to find any Akira Toriyama drawings, that are altered like that, but at the same time, perfectly acceptable. Like, if you're going to be doing a game with that aesthetic where, okay, yeah, you have your chicks in boob armor and then you have your dudes in just, loincloths with exposed chests, it's like, that's fine, man. Okay, great, cool. They look badass. Both characters look badass. And the target audience actually wants to play it, and they have played it for over 30 years. With Chris still baffled by this logic, is evidenced by her admittance that she didn't think that didn't think about that at the time. Torishima interjected to reveal that one of, if not the main factors in determining of these restrictions, was a given production's compliance with overseas standards, and particularly those of the good old US of A. Compliance is an absolute god, said the Shonen Jump editor, who greenlit such hits as One Piece, Naruto, and even Yu-Gi-Oh! So the guy kind of knows what not just Japan likes, but the world likes, okay? There is something like evil in the name of good. It's not like everyone doesn't feel uncomfortable, because not everyone has different ideas about what is good and bad, like clean and dirty, at the root of everything. There are a few things that you absolutely must not do, and if you don't do these things, everything else will be fine, right? That doesn't exist. The idea of sex education that comes from religious concepts from the West is in America, right? Okay. Their idea of compliance is really narrow. Publishing comics over there, you have to separate them by age. If it's a Shonen Jump manga, you can't publish it unless it's 13 years old or older. Yeah, which in gaming is your T for T, obviously, or your PG-13 rating if it's in the cinema. So if you have to do all those retakes, edits, changes, it's obviously translated. You have to take out, insurance in case of a lawsuit. It's really troublesome, so that's why Japan has been badly influenced by that. Putting a stamp on his colleague's words, Horii ultimately affirmed if you can choose a male or a female protagonist, that you can't say you choose a man or a woman. They are type 1 and type 2. I wonder who on earth would complain if we made them a male and female. I don't know. Well, we know who's not complaining about that, in fact, and that would be Elon Musk, who's even weighing in on this stuff. Elon Musk is talking about Dragon Quest. This is insane. Kind of crazy that he decided to hop off the Trump train for 10 seconds and talk about video games. Elon Musk shared his thoughts on Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii, accusing American regulators of forcing the removal of the option between male and female characters in the Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake. It was reported at the beginning of the month that developer Square Enix was removing the option for players to choose between male and female characters, and were instead labeling the characters' options as A and B. This was reported, yes, and we talked about that before. If you want more in those reports, I won't bore you with the details, just simply there's changes and we found proof of it. Following this confirmation, the game was added to, Sweet Baby Inc.'s detected Steam curator list, and Kabrutus's DEI detected website. He runs both of those, obviously. And here's some changes that I didn't even see before, but now I know where they're coming from, but this is reading into stuff at such a crazy level that I can't believe we're here. But yeah, changing the design of trolls, right? Big lips, wagging tongue, I don't know, swinging a mace. But you need to make those design changes because you can't have different color pigmentation to lips. Kind of strange. I guess, you take a look at the real world equivalent of trolls, which, you can't. And you make those changes because you think that they depict the racist caricature of like a minstrel show. Like, wow, outside of just those far left activists, I've never seen anybody in their regular life make so many connections between black people and some of the most evil races in fantasy, orcs, goblins, trolls. It's like, wow, it's strange. Well, you'll get on some people's case about reciting crime statistics, but you're the ones over there saying that you think the black people look way too much like irredeemable evil from the fantasy genre. Very strange type of people we're dealing with here, hey? But Elon Musk, seeing all the stuff that was going on between the interview with Horii and Torishima, retweeted it and said that, this is insane, which it is. 1000% it is. And unfortunately, it's going to negatively affect that remake, which does look good as hell. It's just also one of those things where if you don't stand on principle, you're rewarding bad behavior because they've exposed who they are. They've tried to appeal to a modern audience, and if that's who they're trying to sell to, you can just go ahead and let them sell it to there. And you'll have the same statement from Square Enix. They'll come out and say, wow, Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake failed to meet sales expectations. Where have we heard that before? Oh, right. Pretty much every other Square Enix press release. Stop trying to play footsie with the demographic that doesn't care about your product, that only cares about perceived grievances and how they can weaponize that for social media interaction. It's pretty simple. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.